And as a result of that, their population taking a hit.
WURD, and I'm sitting here with Dr. Umar Johnson and Pastor Brian Jackson from the Garden of Air Church, and we're just having a general conversation about the upcoming events. During the break, I was talking to Brother Umar Johnson and Brian about the comparison that during the crack epidemic, right, they were locking us up. And me and my wife have this conversation constantly about this whole opiate epidemic. And some of us believe that they need to be locking them up, you know, but they run down there and give them water and clothes and all that. And as we're speaking now, folks are out there dying. So let's look at the comparison in this whole move of a shift in how people are treating people. So
absolutely. Yeah. Whenever you deal with substance abuse, you're a public health problem or a criminal justice problem. Those are your options. We're either going to treat them as mentally ill patients who are in need of care and treatment like they are offenders against the law. When we go back to the war on drugs, which, by the way, was created by the CIA, Cocaine Import Agency, CIA, brought the dope in 1980. This was a government-induced war to cripple the Black Power movement. Drugs is what slammed the door on the Black Power revolution.
Yes.
Okay? And they did it to totally dissipate that energy and disorient the community. When drug addicts in the black community were engaged, they were treated as criminals, arrested and locked up. Yeah. They were not put in treatment centers. There was no safe injection sites. You understand? There was no public health approach to the crack addiction in the black community. Fast forward now, 40 years later, we have a opioid crisis in white America that is probably worse than the crack epidemic in black America.
Yes.
But as opposed to treating these young white children like criminals and offenders against the law, instead of locking them up, they've chosen to approach it as a public health problem. So they're giving them safe injection sites, treatment, hospitalization. They're being given leniency in court if they are even arrested. Because from what I'm seeing with the opioid crisis, they're not even arresting them for possession. They're simply taking them to the medical treatment facilities and mental health treatment facilities. A total contradiction and a total different approach than what they did to black folks.
Yeah, and that's why we have these in-depth conversations about what's happening currently today. And folks need to pay attention. So that's why, Pastor, we're going to load up your church with a host of folks coming here to hear life-saving information, how we can save our communities, our kids, even our elderly folks. I'm finding more elderly folks that are doing opiates now.
Yes, indeed. And, we also have a very high depression rate amongst the elderly, and we have a very high suicide rate amongst the elderly. Abuse rate amongst the elderly. Because what happens is when grandma gets old, first of all, the depression kicks in because she no longer have the control, okay, over her body she once did. The systems are beginning to break down because we're not meant to be here forever. God gives us a century, give or take a generation, right? So that's a depression. And then they're often isolated. The elders like they're basically useless eaters, as opposed to our African culture where we embrace the elders, okay? They are the most revered citizens in the community. But unfortunately, whenever white America gets a cold, black America catches the flu. So since white people don't value their elders, we don't like to value our elders either. So they end up suffering in silence at home, not getting the visitors that they need. Then the state comes in and forcibly removes the elders from their homes and put them in these elderly homes where they are significantly more likely to get abused.
Yeah.
These elder homes, most of them shouldn't even be open. What I've seen happen in these elderly homes is absolutely unacceptable. I know sometimes it can get difficult to take care of an elder. I understand that. And sometimes it comes a point where you do have to transfer them over to hospitalization given the extent of the medical challenges. But when you have a mother or a father who has a mild complication, maybe they're just going blind or deaf, you know, or they may just be diabetic, there is no reason, in my opinion, anyone, but no elderly parent should be put in an elderly home when they're suffering from a complication that is clearly manageable. Yeah. We have to stop throwing away our parents. That's a European.
So, Pastor, let's swing back over to you because when I look at your congregation, and I'm glad, you have a majority of your people there. What's the ages of the folks that attend your church? Because, like, you're a young guy now.
Yes,
now,
sir.
the old pastor you had there, what was his name?
John Roberts.
John Roberts. And I would visit there periodically. So now you're a young, energetic, young, inspiring young black man. Are you getting a lot of young folks coming in there?
Yes, so I still have older people, and like Dr. Umar said, is that I definitely I revere them, and because I believe that even though they can't do, they know how to do. And I don't think that I think they're still worth something, and we very much so still appreciate them. My chairman of my deacon board just turned 81 a week ago, and we celebrated him with cards and, balloons and different things to help him to live, because there's knowledge and there's information, even though that I can physically do. But there's things that he can't physically do that that I can do.
But he got that wisdom.
He got that wisdom, and he got the knowledge. And the Bible says, that you ought to call the old because they're wise. You call the young because they're strong. It's like, so it's definitely together and not cast those who have already gone away, because they can help me in one way or another. And there's plenty of times information, even in this generation, in this day and time, knowledge that he has given to me that has very much so successful.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Old man for counsel, young man for war.
Yes. So phone lines are open, 215-634-8065. Concerns or comments, give us a call. We need to hear your feelings about what's happening in the communities. And a plethora of things we talked about, education in schools and gentrification, and just really looking out for our youth and our elderly folks.
Well, I'll tell you this. One of the big issues we got right now, well, the three biggest, first of all, the 5 major problems in black America, and they're no different in Philadelphia, right? Gentrification, the cleansing of black folk. And I know pastors see it. Looking in North Philly, it ain't the North Philly we grew up in at all.
No.
So the whites are coming in, and they're being aided by the city government. We got to be honest. Tax abatement. That 10-year tax abatement is allowing white folk to come in, buy up all of the property in middle to low income neighborhoods, and then they don't have to pay no city tax, no school tax for 10 years. But then you turn around and say you don't have enough money to fund the recreation centers, you don't have enough money to open up all the pools, you don't have enough money to help fix the schools, but you're giving away $43 million in tax revenue with these 10-year tax abatements. So the city is willing to go broke to let white folks take over the black community. Not only that, check this out. I was doing some research on this. Philadelphia leads the nation in gentrification. And the gentrification in Philly is worse than San Francisco, which was considered the... Remember, for a while, the population was going down in Philadelphia. Remember, Philadelphia used to be 2.5 million.
Yes.
Then it went to 2 million. Then it went to 1.5 million, right? Well, guess what happened between 2016 and 2017? It started to climb. 1,000 folks moved into the city, most of them white.
Wow.
Now, check this out. Even though Philadelphia is diverse culturally, it is still the most segregated city in America. They said Philadelphia may be more segregated residentially than Chicago.
Wow. So listen, we got a caller calling in on line 1. I think it's Bobby calling from Southwest Philadelphia.
Absolutely, Queen. My number is 215-989-9858. 215-989-9. Preferred text message, and we would love to see you, Queen, out on Sunday, June 30th, 4 o'clock at the Garden of Prayer World's Prayer Center, 2217 North 29th Street, between Susquehanna and Dauphin. 17. That's all right. Take your time. 2217 2217 North 29th Street, 4 o'clock, between Susquehanna and Dolphin Street. Yes, ma'am. North Philadelphia all day. Yes, ma'am. I'm a school psychologist. Mm-hmm. Brown versus Board of Education. Supreme Court said you can no longer use race in the schools, right? Well, guess what? Special education is created almost 20 years right after that. Special education was created to allow the white schools to resegregate because of color. You would now do it based on condition. In other words, I'm not putting the black boys in that room because they're black. I'm putting them in that room because they're retarded, emotionally disturbed, learning disabled, ADHD. So special education is the resegregation law. But let me also say this. The reason they desegregated the schools isn't because they thought black kids needed to be educated with white kids. It was because black children were inventing things that black folks wasn't even thinking about in those black one-room schoolhouses. Remember, the gas mask, that was a segregated. The refrigerated truck, the self-lubricating engine, the walkie-talkie, all of these inventions came out of the minds of black kids before school desegregation. They didn't desegregate to educate, they desegregate to exterminate the intellectual power of black children.
Wow. We did it and they hit it.
We did it and they hit it. Yeah. Because when we taught our kids, we developed their ability to think. When the white folks got our kids, they simply indoctrinated them with what they wanted them to believe. There's a big difference between teaching and stimulating their natural God-given ability to produce and create. When intellect meets imagination, we all become gods.
Wow. Pastor?
Man, oh man, he just said a wealth of information. I think that is definitely true. Is that a lot of times we think that we spend so much time trying to be integrated and try to be with them, but I truly believe that sometimes they only integrate just so they can keep a close watch on us.
Supervision.
And basically, harbor and, get our information, and because a lot of times we don't see the potential in ourselves. So they get us, all together, monitor us, and they see the potential before we see the potential. Or they have the resources to be able to do stuff before we have the, and then, then they make the billions of dollars from it. I was just, saying to a friend of mine the other day, look at almost any restaurant that you go to, no matter how fancy or no matter how, what kind of plate, what kind of star it is, most of the people that's in the kitchen doing most of the cooking in the high-end restaurants is who?
It's us.
They look just like me. They just like,
yes.
but who the people making the money?
Yeah.
who the lowest people on the totem pole is like, so they take our gifts and they make money off of it.
Right.
Oh, but it's mainly because we don't know how to be a good steward over what we have.
That's right. That's right.
You mentioned something, and it's funny. I was just in Jackson, Mississippi. Ran into a young lady. We talked about gentrification. And she said she was from Florida, and she mentioned climate gentrification. I thought it was quite interesting. So I started listening. She says, in Florida, in poverty people, the poor people stay. Mm-hmm. On the coastal line where it is falling apart, where the rich stay, they want to shift.
Swap out.
and climate gentrification and move those folks that are above sea level, our people, and move them back down here. And I said, wow. So this whole thing with gentrification is a national thing.
Oh, it's national.
You just mentioned
it's
Philadelphia is the leading the nation.
Philadelphia leads. In fact, check this out. There's 7 cities that accounts for more than half of the gentrification in the country. So take all the gentrification in America. Take all of the ethnic cleansing that's pushing poor blacks out their neighborhood. All of it. 7 cities account for half of it. Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Chicago, and Baltimore. And remember, for a long time, nobody touched Baltimore. Go to Baltimore now. White folks are swirling all over it.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Remember, when white folks left the inner city, they only left because we came.
Right.
Remember, World War II, they told us come up, get these jobs. When the white folks came back from the war, they said, we don't need y'all no more. Get lost.
Yeah.
That's where the ghettos came from, because they took our jobs back, right? So then white folks ran away with the white flight to get away from black folks. But guess what? We started following them out to the suburbs.
Absolutely.
So white folks said, damn, I can't go nowhere without Negroes wanting to be next to me. So the white folks said, if they're going to be wherever I be, why don't we lead them out here and go back to where we want to be? Think about it.
Why we driving so far out?
Thank you. If I want to go to an Eagles game.
They working in the city.
That's what I'm saying. Think about it. The rich white folks living out there. They got to sit in traffic for an hour to go to an Eagles game. An hour to go to a Sixers game. They don't want that. They said these poor black folk in the middle of the ghetto, they can take one sub stop and they at their game. They said this can't be that way. Privilege is supposed to be for the rich, not for the poor. And that's why they swapping out.
You know, it's funny. I had a young lady work with me, an older sister who, and it's very interesting, 20 years ago, she would get on the train at Center City and she would ride all the way to the far northeast where she lived.
No, northeast.
And then she mentioned that as the years progressed, everybody would get off on the first L stop once they leave Center City. And then there was a shift, a paradigm shift, and now our people are riding to the end of the line.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then those folks, the other folks, now
Yes.
getting off at the first stop.
Oh, yes.
So when you look at gentrification and development in these places here, it's quite obvious what is going on.
Oh, without question. The ghetto is now going to be the suburb. And the suburb is now going to be the ghetto. I don't know if you caught this, but SEPTA had a couple public hearings on how they was going to modify the public transportation route. And they're planning down the road that some of these regional trains that come in, they're going to cut them off. You know why they're going to cut them off? Because we're going to be out there. So they're going to make sure you can't even get into the city to get a job. Now, let's take this to a Holocaust. Let's take this to a Holocaust perspective. What do we know? What did Adolf Hitler do with the European Jews? Okay? He crowded them into ghettos where they were beyond the sight of the German people, so they could be more effectively exterminated, because where they lived, nobody cared to be. If I want to exterminate black people, understand. But if I put you way out at the top of Ben Salem somewhere, and now if I start poisoning your water, poisoning your food, committing police genocide, nobody will even know it's going on. This is a preparation for extermination.
Yes. We got another call on the line. Boy, oh boy, the discussion is getting kind of right where we needed to be. We got Hakeem calling from South Philly. Is that Hakeem?
He dropped.
Oh, he dropped? Okay, so we're going to get right back into it. Hey, Brother U, I'm telling you, folks, please pay attention.
5 major problems: gentrification, miseducation, police genocide, incarceration, and access to wealth. Gentrification, miseducation, incarceration, police genocide, and access to wealth. Those are the 5 fingers of death for black America. Those are the 5 things we need to be focusing on. Now, everybody getting hyped for the upcoming city council election, right? Everybody went around and vote. I ain't heard a candidate yet. Not one of them. And many of them I know. And I love and respect them. But I ain't heard a black city council candidate yet give me a solution for miseducation, gentrification, mass incarceration, police genocide, or access to wealth. And then they want to say, why don't you vote for me? Because I want a solution. Not a Band-Aid. I want a solution. And the reason why our black elected officials can't give us solutions is because they're funded by the Democratic Party. They're funded by the same people causing the problem. How are you going to get a solution out of somebody being funded by the problem causer?
Yes. So listen here, we're going to take, we got another call. I'm giving back to Dave. I tell you, Pastor, the church is going to be packed over there at 29th in Susquehanna.
I'm a shock the pastor. I might go into the Bible on Sunday.
So we got Barbara calling from Camden, New Jersey. Barbara, welcome to the show. And Mrs. Jones, and I sponsored Billy Paul for 19 years and traveled all over the world with Billy Paul. So I always had that's my commitment to my relationship with Billy Paul. And okay, my producer will get your phone number, and I'll make sure you get a copy of This Is Your Life. Thank you so much, Miss Barbara. Hold on, don't. Dave will get your number. All right. Yeah. So
No solution. See, we got to understand something. Black America have been doing worse. The more black people we've elected. The more black people get elected, the worse we do. You know why? It's not that they're bad people. They're funded by the same people we're fighting. If you tell me you're running for office and you're a Democrat, a Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, I don't vote for you. You know why? Because I know you have to follow the party's agenda. You are not. If you're not an independent candidate, you're not an independent thinker, which means you don't have any independent solutions. See, if you're a Democrat, a Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, you're only going to push the agenda of your party. You have never met a black politician who was more loyal to black people than their party.
Well, I'm telling you again. So here's what we need to do. We're going to take our final break, and we're going to come back and wrap things up. Don't forget. 9th Street.
Between Susquehanna and Dolphin. North Philly, I am home.
Yes.
Come on out, but we also want West Philly, Southwest Philly. We want Darby. We want Yaden. We want Northeast Philadelphia. Wherever you live, come on out. Couple weeks, and you need to be ready. Let's talk about the gentrification. Let's talk about taking our city back. We don't need the politicians. All we need is black power.
That's right. So we'll be right back. Yes.
Tumors and co-occurring disorders are chronic diseases that do not.
Pastor gonna get a few more calls.
They go me. Hey, Nash,
what are you doing?
What are you doing up there? I'm coming up there with the boys.
I might need all you. They said,
yeah, they should.
You think you're going? You think y'all going to be? I
think they should be there. And representing the church. You know what I mean?
They should have their families come.
Yeah.
And representing the church.
Yes, indeed.
So here's what we're going to do. When we go back on, we're going to close out. People you want to thank. Your deacon board, some other people, family, that whole thing. Then we'll close out with you. And then people you want to thank. And then give out the phone numbers and the website again, how people can pray.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what fool keep calling me when I'm on the air.
I hate when people do that. I hate when people, they know you live.
They know I'm live.
Sometimes I think it's a little hater rate. Because why are you calling if he live?
Yeah.
But you know, University of Pennsylvania, the land that it sits on, that was once the ghetto in West Philly. You do know that.
Exactly.
Back in the 1970s, they started moving the blacks out, and that's when UPenn took that over. Temple University, that was all ghetto. Look at all the universities sit on top of the old black ghettos.
All ghetto.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they're going to keep on doing it.
And they keep building, and all the politicians play right along with them.
Yeah, I remember Darrell Clark told us that Temple University wouldn't be allowed to go beyond 18th Street, I think it was. They all up to 30th Street. They all up to this, yeah.
And, you know what's funny? Darrell and the mayor said, they ain't going to build no stadium down here. The white folks got money, and the lawyer said, listen, he can say what he want to say, but we still moving towards building.
I know they wanted that stadium back at Temple.
But see, they done shift. Now they done eased up.
And they just bought one of my friend's churches on brought in Master. They've been trying to get that church for years.
Right, I know the boy.
But the, it's an older church. It's popular.
By the YMCA.
Yeah, Mount Olive Holy Temple.
But then they catch on fire. Which one? No. That's the other one down the street.
Yeah, the biggest. It's like a triangle.
Yeah.
See, why the churches is selling it?
Well, they was adamant about not selling for years, but they had an older congregation. It wasn't really progressive. It's like so. It became a burden.
Right.
It's like, and then they offer you crazy money. And it's just like struggle money. Then it's like, and it's sad with
they hurting us.
Yeah, it's sad what's going on. Even our building across the street. We had a building across the street that that before I became the pastor, they had sold somebody and they was trying to do something and they couldn't do it. We went back over there to go see it, and literally I was in there, having to compete with white guys.
Wow.
who of course, who had money on the spot. To be, to be able to buy it,
that's that access to wealth. Remember the 5 problems? Want access to wealth. See, they could tap them white folks. Go to the bank. A broke white boy will go to the bank and get a loan and get 5 abandoned houses.
See, that take me to that Jesus money.
Yeah.
And then y'all run. We ain't gonna put it
not the pastor, but the other mega churches. They got all their money in the white bank.
They get to the white bank, and your mama. Get that Jesus money to those banks,
and the bank use it.
The church take that money to the white banks,
and they use it and finance the gentrification. Yes, on black people's money. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, when you said that one time, I said,
yes, we funding it. Right. And my thing is, I think, and this might be, you might already be on this, but I think every church should have their own savings and loan. Or credit union, you feel me?
Oh no!
That way the money don't go to the white bank. We got it, and we can tap into our own fund.
Absolutely.
And I can't believe, like TD Jakes. I don't think TD Jakes got a bank as big as you is. Right. Creflo Dollar, you ain't got no bank. All the money you taking, so you giving all that to a white bank to hold that? Every big church should have their own bank.
And then all the developers come into that bank.
Yes.
Say, we need a loan for you.
But
your grandma can't go in and get that loan.
Right.
Where's Oprah Winfrey's money?
Right.
Oprah, all your money in the white bank. You talking billions. What if Oprah started a black bank? You know what we could do?
But
Jay-Z, who holding your money?
I think that sometimes we think that big, and then they just make it so difficult for us. Every time we try to start something, they always find it's always a loophole. It's always something. It's always extra stuff that we got to go through that nobody else got to go through.
The red tape.
What I'm saying? Like in order to get stuff, done, and then don't let us actually get an opportunity to start something, and then it start prospering. Then they going to find even more loophole, and then not only that, but then we got to make sure that when we start something, we stay integral with what it is that we do.
We do.
It's like, because sometimes that's what make it difficult.
So listen, man, we back here and time flies, man, and again, you've been listening to Recovery Talk 101. This is a special edition where we do periodically to showcase individuals and organizations. I'm going to swing over to Pastor Bryant Jackson from the Garden of Prayer. I want to thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate you and your commitment and your leadership to the community up there. Your final thoughts. Anybody you would like to thank before we leave the airwaves?
Yes, first off, I want to thank you for having me on this beautiful sunny Saturday, and then I also want to thank Dr. Umar. I want to thank him for even considering my church to come and to talk about these pressing issues, and even using this as a way to bridge the gap between the community and the church. There really is no separation between the community and the church. My church is the community, and we're only as good as the church is only as good as the community that it sits in. I also want to give a shout out to my church, the greatest church in the world with the greatest people in the world, who have stood beside me and who have encouraged me, and who have walked and held my arms up to make this happen, and to continue to be the light that Jesus has called us all to be in this dark world. So I just want to continue to thank you all for the invitation, and continue to ask you all just to keep my church in prayer as we continue to do the work of the Lord in the community.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
Listen, I look forward to seeing you as well.
Yeah. So we're going to swing over Brother Umar
Absolutely.
Johnson.
First of all, I want to thank Pastor Jackson, young brother. Always good to see the young, strong pastors in the community. Thank him and thank his church, his congregation, his deacon board, and everybody else associated with the Garden of Prayer for being open-minded enough to let me come and bring my message to my own neighborhood.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Pastor Jackson, and the World's Prayer Center. But it's going down next Sunday, June 30th, Sunday, last day of the month, 4 o'clock, doors at 3. All children are free. All elders are free. Everyone else, $20 donation. You can make it at the door, or you could go to DrUmarJohnson.com, DrUMAR Johnson.com. Ticket price don't change. 20 at the door, 20 online, and we're going to use this money to help fund the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy that we purchased in Wilmington, also fund the National Independent Black Parent Association, also fund the Shockumentary School to Prison Pipeline documentary that I'm working on, as well as the college tour for our young men and women. 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Black Power.
Dr. Umar Johnson, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Then we got to bring you back.
Anytime.
Yeah, we're going to bring you back in here.
Anytime. I'm here.
We're going to bring you back in here.
Anytime.
Hey, Lloyd. So we want to thank our producer, Dave, for holding things down. Man, it's really been good. My final words have always been love someone because someone needs to love you back. To my wonderful wife, First Lady Sheila Ford. We rolling out tonight to my 2 daughters, Sierra and Quadia. And Sayer and Samir, my family, we love you guys. Lloyd, where we going tonight, Lloyd?
We're going everywhere in the Caribbean where reggae music is played and soca music is played, like Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, Antigua, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Cayman Islands, Barbados. Did I say Barbados?
Barbados, man. Flying fish.
And Cuckoo, the national dish.
Yes. So that's our good friend Lloyd Cummings. He's coming to you guys right here at 900 a.m. WURD 96.1. Don't change that dial. Until next week, peace, and we're out of here.
Where you from, Brother Lloyd?
Jamaica, man.
Oh, I keynoted the Marcus Garvey celebration, Ocho Rios, 2 years ago. Largest one ever. I blew it down. Garveyite #1 right here. Yes, sir.
So we're going back in here.
This year marks the centennial for the Black Star Line.
Yes, 1919, which was incorporated in Delaware. I just bought 2 schools in Delaware. 2019, 1919. Centennial. Garvey is in the world with.
Yeah, man. Beautiful.
Appreciate you, black man. Always a pleasure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get that out your way.
Let's take some pictures. You got the phone?
Oh, sure. Let's do it.
Hey, man.
With a little trash. Take them on mine, and I could share them if we need.